Ladies and gentlemen, James Lane here, and in this segment, we're going to talk all about the stimulus, but not in the way you think. See, we're going to go over some of the stuff that the stimulus contains, and I'm going to show you something that you may not have realized. I'm going to explain exactly how this stimulus package is a double-edged sword, how the Democrat Party is trying to use it against Donald Trump. Folks, you're not going to want to miss this. Next. Ladies and gentlemen, James Lane here. It is Monday. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast this morning. I've had a lot of good emails, a lot of good positive feedback, and I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate it. I wanted to bring you that interview, and I hope that you enjoyed it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the stimulus check, that thing, that $600 thing they're trying to distract you with while simultaneously carving it into a dagger and jamming it into the spine of our beloved president. Folks, we know they've stuffed it full of crap, all right? And we're going to go through some of that. And we know that Nancy Pelosi is up there with her Game of Thrones Hand of the Kingpin on, flaunting her accomplishments while simultaneously rubbing our collective blue-collar noses in dog shit. I get that too. God, what a horrible human being. I hope you guys liked the face I made on the cover art, because that's literally the face I make every time I see her. Just like that. Like, I just can't help it. It's almost like having a seizure. It's an involuntary response. It's almost as if I want to evacuate my bowels and throw up the contents of my stomach while making the worst whiskey face you've ever seen, all at the same time. That is the reaction. Just like that. That is the reaction that Nancy Pelosi elicits. You know, once upon a time, somebody had to have sex with her. Yeah. Oh, I know. Right? Okay. I want to get into this. I need you to understand a couple things, because at the end of this, I'm going to explain just how nasty Game of Thrones, just Brutus, Caesar, whoever you want to call it, just backstabbing, chicanery. Well, she never was on Trump's side, but you know what I'm trying to say. Whoever is going with this is what I'm getting at. Whether it's McConnell, whether it's Chris Christie, that RINO son of a bitch, whether it's whoever, Democrats, Republicans, all the people that are hailing this as an accomplishment because they're getting the American people $600. Well, folks, it's actually a weapon in disguise. So let's start reading. We're going to go through these articles, and I'm going to explain this to you. And then at the end, I'm going to bring this to that conclusion I talked about. In the meantime, if you just found us, if you just came across the American Revolution movement, welcome. I appreciate it. I am happy to have you here for this journey, for this ride, for this revolution, ladies and gentlemen. What I need you to do, wherever you're watching this, whether it's YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, wherever I have this up, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you share this video. All our distributions cut. We're a censored program, ladies and gentlemen. So what I need you to do is share this, talk about this, get the American Revolution movement out. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and you've heard this before, you can close your ears for 2 seconds. But if you're brand new here, do me that splendid favor. Give me some sugar, ladies and gentlemen. Go on to Apple Podcasts, hit the 5-star rating. All right. Hit that 5-star rating and write a little comment in there. It massages the algorithm. It gets us up the Apple Podcast ratings. It climbs the proverbial Apple Podcast ladder. That's not even like a climb. That's like a cat pawing. Or you ever see like one of those Chinese anyway. We climb up the ratings, right? More people see, more patriots see this, more people wake up. And that's our mission, ladies and gentlemen. We are here waking people up. All right. So, folks, we are going to go into this. We're going to start reading. This is by Christina Layla from the Gateway Pundit, ladies and gentlemen. This is called After Months of Lockdowns and Stonewalling, Pelosi calls for $600 direct payment checks. It calls them significant. like they're actually helping us, like she's actually doing us a favor. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Mistress Pelosi. Please step on my testicles with your high heels harder, because I just enjoy getting screwed by politicians. Don't we? Don't we love getting screwed by politicians? I'm being facetious, obviously. Let's start reading, ladies and gentlemen. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi doesn't care about the middle class. She doesn't care about middle-class Americans, blue-collar Americans. She doesn't care about those who are suffering because of authoritarian COVID lockdown orders. While Americans suffered, Pelosi was getting her hair done. You guys remember this? Let's zoom in. You've seen all of these different coastal elites. You've seen Newsom come out. You've seen Gretchen or whoever, all these different politicians, all of these different mayors, these governors, these mask-toting fascists that sit there and make you bend the knee and obey and kiss their ring, kiss their pinky ring and beg while they get their hair done at $300 salons with no mask on, because, you know, the same rules don't apply. While Americans stood in food bank lines, Pelosi enjoyed gourmet ice cream and expensive chocolates. Don't you remember when she showed you her $13,000 freezer and her hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars? See, when you're in a pandemic, when you're in hell, ladies and gentlemen, and you're a rich, well-connected deep state politician, fuck Ben and Jerry's, pardon my language. You get that expensive, rich, Beverly Hills, San Francisco, cushy shit, that $400 a pint shit. Whatever she's eating, ladies and gentlemen, she is rubbing our faces in it. After months of stonewalling and playing politics, Pelosi finally agreed to a COVID relief bill that's expected to pass today. And it went through. Congress finally agreed to hand out a $600 pathetic check to every American after the politicians ruined the economy and millions of lives. Pelosi on Monday called the $600 direct payment checks to suffering Americans significant, like she has any idea what significant is to the peasantry, ladies and gentlemen. Like she has any idea what significant means. This is a curious reversal from January 2018 when Pelosi called $2,500 employee bonuses stemming from Trump's tax cuts insignificant crumbs. Disgusting, ladies and gentlemen. What a disgusting, horrible, horrible human being. I think, you know, we're not supposed to hate people in this world, right? Hate's such a strong word, but God, you just look at Nancy Pelosi, that she's like 80 years old. She hates America. She hates Americans. She hates the poor. She hates the middle class, especially hates the middle class. She rules over a city with human feces on the sidewalks and open heroin needles in the street gutters and on the benches and in the restaurants and anywhere else you look. Yep, San Francisco is a cesspool. And I realize something not a lot of people realize. They know she's the Speaker of the House. But Nancy Pelosi is the queen, the congresswoman over San Francisco. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, what a disgusting human being. What a disgusting human being. And it gets even better. It gets even better because McConnell and a lot of the other RINOs there, they pushed their party to vote for this bill because we're being held hostage. You see, when you look at it politically, when you look at it like chess pieces, when you look at it like a strategist, you see, they pushed their agenda through and held the decent Republicans that were left. They held them hostage with the $600 stimulus, with their suffering constituents, with their suffering citizenry. The shop owners that were forced to close, going hungry. The children that aren't getting an education. They're falling behind in virtual school hell. They're going hungry because their parents can't put food on the table. The fathers and mothers falling to alcoholism, falling to drugs, falling to prostitution, falling to suicide because of people like Nancy Pelosi. That's who's suffering. She has no idea what that is. I want you to remember that while Americans suffered, as we saw before, Pelosi was getting her hair done, right? We looked at this already, actually. Let's go to the next one. I don't know what I'm doing there. Democrat stimulus bill. All right, guys? It gives $600 to suffering Americans. Here's where things get fun, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what we saw floating through the parlor stream today, ladies and gentlemen. Democrat stimulus bill gives $600 to suffering Americans, but sends more than $2 billion to Africa and Asia. Yes, because under the bureaucrat politician plan, not just the Democrat plan anymore, now that they think Trump's on the way out. According to the political bureaucrat, the Washington swamp ideology, the ideology is America last. Not America first, America last. They're done with us, folks. If they steal this election, they are done with us. You might as well get ready for the Great Reset, folks, because they are done giving a crap what we think. That's why we're fighting. That's why Trump's fighting. That's why the digital soldiers are holding the line. This is another one by Christina Layla. She writes some pretty good pieces for the Gateway. We're going to go through this, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. So House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, she doesn't care about middle-class Americans who are suffering because of authoritarian COVID lockdown orders. No, she does not at all. We've proven that already. After months of stonewalling, playing politics, she agreed to the crappy relief bill that was signed today, or not signed, but passed today. Congress finally agreed to hand out a $600 check to every American after they screwed up and ruined the economy, after they screwed up and ruined millions of lives. I'm obviously paraphrasing her, so if you're reading along with me, I do add some stuff here and there, so don't hold that against me. The COVID stimulus bill, it's so big that it had to be wheeled across the halls of Congress. And if any of you have ever heard Joe Rogan's comedy, just remember the wheelbarrow with the roll of carpet in it, all right? If you've been watching and listening to him long enough, like over 10 years, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But the COVID stimulus bill is so big that it had to be wheeled across the halls of Congress in a roll of carpet taken orally in a wheelbarrow. Ladies and gentlemen, lawmakers aren't even reading the bill before voting on the nearly $1 trillion. I couldn't help myself. $1 trillion spending bill, ladies and gentlemen. $1 trillion. You notice these things get bigger and bigger every year? Americans are only getting $600, so where is the rest of it going? Oh, I didn't even know Burma existed. $135 million to Burma. $85.5 million to Cambodia. $1.4 billion to the Asia Reassurance Initiative Act. $130 million to Nepal. $700 million to Sudan. $250 million in Palestinian aid, and $25 million for gender programs in Pakistan, folks. Gender programs in Pakistan. Folks, you don't see any Israeli aid on there, do you? No, only Palestinian aid. This is a Democrat agenda, a socialist, a great reset, a progressive leftist agenda, a roll over, get steamrolled, freight train coming through, screw off, screw the people, America last, foreign interference, deep state, China agenda, ladies and gentlemen, and we are being held hostage to it because Americans are suffering. This is Democrats holding a gun to the head of the middle class and low income American foundations and saying, you want your money? Pay our beneficiaries, or pay our benefactors, excuse me. Pay the sugar daddies that finance our campaigns, or it's all over for you. And don't you realize if we bend them, it's all over for us anyway? That's how they play their game. Do you want to go quick or do you want to go slow? That's how they play their game. Quick or slow. What we need to do is say, not quick, not slow, but no. That's what we need to say to them. The stimulus bill, right? The government closes the economy. You lose your job. You face an eviction. You lose everything. $600 for your troubles. Then they send your money to Burma, to Cambodia, to Nepal, to Sudan, to Palestinian aid programs, and to gender programs in Pakistan. And what the hell is the Asia Reassurance Initiative Act anyway? What is it? Good thing I pulled it up. Let's take a look. You see this piece of hefty documentation here? The Asia Reassurance Initiative Act, area of 2018, and we're not talking area Stark. In December 2018, the 115th Congress passed and President Trump signed into law the Asia Reassurance Initiative Act, which provides a broad statement of U.S. policy for the Indo-Pacific regions. Now, some of this is good, some of this is Look, for certain security programs, vague, $1.5 billion a year to promote democracy, strengthen civil society, human rights, rule of law. See, it all sounds nice, right? To enhance cooperation, to combat cybersecurity threats. Hey, CISA. Hey, U.S. government. Hey, Democrats. Hey, Republicans. How did that go for you? Maybe instead of giving $100 million to the Indo-Pacific cybersecurity programs, maybe you should spend it here. Yeah. Think about that, huh? To support Indo-Pacific young leaders, including the Young Southeast Asian Leader Initiative, YSEALI, and the ASEAN Volunteers Program for critical assistance to human rights defenders, whatever they define that as. You see, things that the Democrats note as human rights offenses, they haven't even investigated. The leftists in the Philippines push a false narratives, and the leftists in this country follow it. I lived in the Philippines. I promise you, the human rights violations, they're being committed by communist detractors that literally live in the jungles. All right? That's literally what's out. There's literally groups of communists that live in the Philippines and hurt people. Those are the bad guys. But instead, they pay the lefties in these Asian countries to establish a comprehensive, integrated, multi-year strategy to encourage the efforts of Indo-Pacific countries to implement national power strategies, produce robust, comprehensive trade capacity, such amounts as may be necessary. Vague. Such amounts as may be necessary, vague, to sponsor bilateral and multilateral activities for intellectual property protection. Let me explain to you how good intellectual property protection is in Asia while they're paying them unforeseen amount of monies. They have Facebooks, they have Star Plucks. Listen, you can go find, any variation of an American company over there with the same exact logo in many countries. That money ain't going where they say it's going. I swear to you that, ladies and gentlemen. I swear to you that. How much were they getting again for that bill? $1.4 billion to get blown out of the ass. And you know how I know that it's going to get blown out of this? How nothing is going to actually stick, how nothing's going to actually help, how that $1.4 billion could actually go in the pockets of American citizens, but instead the Democrat Party says, F you to us? This is how. Let's scroll on down, ladies and gentlemen. Where is it? Implication for U.S. policy. Are you ready for this? This is in the fine print, all right? Under all of this that most people wouldn't want to even read through. Trust me, you've seen me read through these 3-hour documents, right, folks? You know that I've got the patience to scrutinize this and turn the screws on these leftists. Look at this. Area's main impact is likely to be mostly symbolic, signaling U.S. commitment to the region and the efforts that Congress supports to that end. The act shows congressional support for many elements of the administration's approach to China as a strategic competitor. You notice they didn't mention a lot of this stuff. They didn't mention it here. They didn't mention China in this money distribution. They just said the Asia Reassurance Initiative Act, because if that said $1.4 billion for China, it wouldn't happen. You see how they pay their masters? You see? Right there. There it is, folks. There it is. All right? Area's main impact is likely to be mostly symbolic, signaling U.S. commitment to the region and efforts Congress supports that end. The act shows congressional support for many elements of the administration's approach to China as a strategic competitor. Folks, this is how the Democrats are spending our money. You know, they get their money from taxes, right? And from selling things that our taxes go to produce or that we produce. I mean, folks, we fund this country. The taxpayers fund this country. And it's starting to feel like taxation without representation when you're taking money and food off the table of hardworking Americans and sending it to the damn Chinese Communist Party. All right, folks, that's what I wanted to get through. And this is when I tell you about that very precarious position that this puts our President Donald Trump in. All right, here's the problem, folks. You put this bill together and then you get bipartisan support from deep state players, from RINOs, from really crappy people in government that have been infected, that have been diseased, that have been violated and taken over like a pod person, like Roddy Piper in They Live, where you need the sunglasses to see the creatures that actually took over the beings that once were the Democrat Party. Folks, these people are putting a gun to your head and putting a gun to the president's head, because here is what they are doing. You pay these countries or the people don't get their money. If you veto the bill, then the people turn on you, or at least they want the people to turn on you, because, and this is the message to Trump, the people turn on you because you won't give them any relief. You're now responsible for taking the money away from them, even if it's 600, even if it's the crumbs that Nancy Pelosi herself talked about in 2018. Even if you take that from them, you'll be taking the crumbs off the plates of the American people. So what do you do, ladies and gentlemen? If he lets the bill go through and he signs it, then he himself has allowed the money, your hard-earned money. President Trump has sent your money overseas and through its own filtration process to our enemies. President Trump will be paying China. But if he vetoes the bill, then he takes food off your plate. He takes help away from many people who need it. That is the evil. That is the Democrat Party. That is the evil, the Satan-like evil. That is the RINOs. They have a special place in hell. Those betrayers, those traitors. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the hell of the swamp. This is the evil of the bureaucracy. This is what they do. They are heartless. They are soulless. They have no care. And we the people are the only ones that can stop them. You have a voice, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to start using it, because our president's being held hostage. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, I really would appreciate it. Like I said earlier, if you could do all those things, subscribe, hit the notification bell, 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, follow along anywhere. We're on Audible, we're on Alexa, we're on TuneIn, we're on all that stuff, Spotify. But follow me along on Parler. Follow along on Parler at the James Lane on Parler at the James Lane. I really need you to spread the word. Share this. Get this out. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell your loved ones. Tell the enemy. Let the Democrats know about me. I'll take the heat in the show business, ladies and gentlemen. Any heat is good heat, positive or negative. You're expanding. This is what I need you to do. Get that message out. Get that message out so more patriots can hear this. More patriots need to wake up. We have to use our voice. We have to use our First Amendment. God forbid we ever get to the second. So use the First Amendment. And if you appreciate this programming, if you appreciate what we're doing, if you want to help us grow and give back, I need you to then do me a favor. Go over to www.americanreveille.com, www.americanreveille.com. That's REVEILLE. EILLE. Hit the little donation tab, and even if you give $1, anything helps. We use all of that money to reinvest into this. I don't have any big name sponsors. I don't have any help like that. Everything I'm doing right now is on donations. I work a full-time job. I'm a student. I have kids. I have a wife. I have a family, and I am basically not sleeping so that I can get this information to you. We are the digital soldiers. We are the ones holding the line, and we will be the reason why this country prevails. So, ladies and gentlemen, follow along. If you have any feedback, any critiques, any questions, you can email me direct, jameslane@americanreveille.com. That's jameslane@americanreveille.com. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 10,000 listens on the podcast now. 10,000. I could never even imagine in my wildest dreams. Thank you so much. Let's drive forward and bring the fight to them. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.